Okay, so in 4.2, writing equations in point slope form. But in 4.1, we did, what was it again? Slope-intercept form, correct? And what was the equation to that? Y equals mx plus b, where, who was m? We know that m is our slope. Who is b? Y-intercept. And what about x and y? Those are our what? Our points, correct? And we're able to find this equation through what? Points. What else? With points, with a given slope, right? With the slope and a y-intercept. And even with a graph, correct? There's different forms to find this equation, correct? Now, with writing equation in point slope intercept form, it's completely different, but at the same time similar, okay? The only thing that is different is the formation, but there's different ways to work what we're looking for. Because remember, how do we find with the m and our slope and our y-intercept? Our y-intercept, because it's going to be 0 and a number, correct? 0 and a number. 0 and they're giving us y. And we know we could find our slope we have a y-intercept, correct? But sometimes it's not going to be 0. We're going to be given different points. And that is where the slope-intercept comes in, okay? So let's go on to the next slide. All right, so we know that it gives us what? To find the slope, correct? And we know we have 3 different type of slope of a line, right? What are the 3? Not 3, 4. What are the 4 ones? Who remembers the 4 different slopes of a line? Negative, what else? Negative, positive. What? Horizontal, which gives us what? M equals who? Who does M equal when it's horizontal? 0, correct? We're forgetting. And which is the other one? Vertical, where M is what? Undefined, correct? Undefined. It's very important you guys remember these constantly. You will be seeing them throughout. You will see them in geometry and algebra 2. It's constant, okay? Now, we know that this equation gives us the slope. This right here at the bottom is what we call the what? Point slope form, okay? That is going to be the point slope interform. This is when we're given a point on a line and the slope of the line. So we're giving points. Before we were giving what? We were giving, let's say, they would tell us that the y-intercept was what? Let's say 5. What would that points for that would be? If the y-intercept is 5, what would our points look like? What would my point look like? If I was to graph it, what would my point look like? What are my order pair? Somebody? You guys should know. If I'm giving the y-intercept as a 5, what will be if I was to plug in that? What would be the point? What is it? 0, 5, where 0 is x and 5 is who? Y, correct? Not all the time you're giving a 0, 5, correct? There are going to be times where you're giving different points. So example, instead of having a 0, you might be giving what? A 3. No longer is our y-intercept going to be 5. Got it? It's no longer going through past the line. And sometimes the line might not go through the intercept at 0, So we're going to be looking at the y-intercept, the point slope form, where you're going to let xy be another point in the line where 2x cannot equal to what? To 2. You can write an equation relating x and y using the slope form with x1, y1 equals 2, 3, and x2 and y2 equal what? xy. Next slide. So if you look on the slide here, the point-intercept is going to be what? The point slope form is going to be y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Who is y here? Do we know what y is here? No, correct? We're going to equal it to another point in the graph. Y1 is what's going to be given, okay? In this case, given. Who's m? Slope. X is going to be who? X1 and Y1 are going to be who? Are going to be points that passes, okay? That passes through X1 and Y1. Okay? We will take a look at these. Okay. So our slope is 1/4. And what are the points? -8 and 3, correct? Will those be our first points or our second points? Were we given 2 points or 1 point? How many points were we given? 1 or 2 points? 1. So therefore, that's going to be x1 and y1. Correct? What is the slope? Now, 1/4. And our point is what? -8, 3, and those are the first points we were given. If we plug in now the form, which was what? The point slope form was what? Y minus y1 equals times x minus x1. Are we able to plug in now? Based on this that we were given, can you plug in? No? Were we given y? We were not given y. We were not. We were only given what? Y1. Which is y1 here? What is it? 3. Were we given m? Which m is what? 1/4. Were we given x? No. Were we given x1? Which is what? -8. Can we rewrite this? Which our answer is going to be y minus 3 equals 1/4 x plus 8, correct? Because this cancels out. And this right here is our what? Our slope, our point slope what? Form. That's the answer. Who's confused? What do you need, Miller? So we saw that before on the previous slide, we were given what? A point with what? With the slope. Now it's writing equation, we're given what? 2 points, okay? 2 points. When you're given 2 points on a line, you can write an equation of the line using the following step. Find the slope of the line. Who remember what is the slope of the line? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's going to be your first step to find something. And step 2 is telling use the slope and one of the points to write an equation of the line in point slope form. And again, the slope point form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, okay? Those are going to be the steps. So are we going to be given now the slope? No. Now we have to find the slope, okay? We have to find the slope. Here we're giving 2 points to write the inequation. So we're given what? 2 points. We're going to find, what's the first point? 1 what? 1, 2, and negative 2. I'm going to have this equals x1, y1, x2, and y2. So plugging in my slope to find my slope, what is my y2? Negative 2 minus 2 over 3 minus 1. What is negative 2 minus 2? Negative 4, and 3 minus 1 gives me 2. Simplified, my m is going to be negative what? Negative 2. So now I've been given my slope, and I could pick any of these two, okay? Any of these 2 points. I'm going to pick my first one. Which is my first point? 1 and 2, correct? So that's going to be my x1 and my y1. Am I able now to write my equation, my form? Yes, Miller. Why what? Okay, so remember, it's y minus y1 equals m times x1 minus x2, correct? We are not giving our y, but we're giving y1. Which is y1 here? 2 equals, our slope is now what? Negative 2, and our x1 is who? No, I don't know why I did that. This is not here, and this is not here. We're not given x, and which is x1? 1. And that here is our what? Our equation. Yes.
So sometimes when my pen doesn't work, I have my arm on the screen.
So that is our what? Slope what? Is that our slope-intercept form? What is the question asking us? This is the point slope, correct? That is our point slope form. What is the question asking us? To write it in a what? So, well, how would I write this in a slope-intercept form now? Y equals, that means that I'm going to transfer who now? Negative 2 over, correct? Should I done this before? So before you do that, what should I done before to make it easier for me? Minus 2 equals, what's negative 2 times x? Negative what? Negative 2x. And negative 2 times negative 1 gives me positive 2, right? Can I now add that 2 over? Y equals negative 2x plus 4. And that's going to be our what? Slope-intercept. So based on what? Based on only one equation, I'm able to write it in what? 2 form. In point-slope form, and in what? Slope-intercept. Okay, now we're going to write it in linear function. So remember our favorite linear functions? Write a linear function with the values of what? F of 4 equals negative 2, and f of 8 equals 4. Correct? What is I need to find first? What do you guys think I need to find if I need to write this in a function form? Remember that before it was what? This is what I need it to look. F of x equals
This is what was on the homework that I was little.
X, f of x equal x. That's what it needs to look like. X here represents who? My slope, correct? How do I find my slope here with these 2 points, with these 2 functions? How do I find my slope with this? What are my points here? 4 and negative 2, and what else? 8 and 4, where what? This is x1 and this is y1, x2 and y2. How do I find my slope now? Okay, so it's going to be what? 4 minus negative 2 and 8 minus 4. We know that this adds up. What's 4 plus 2? 6. And 8 minus 4 gives me 4. Simplify, m gives me what? 3 over? 3 over 2. Correct? And now how I'm going to write this function? I'm first going to use what? My point slope form, which is going to be what? Y minus what? Y negative 2, which is basically plus 2, correct? Because it cancels out. Equals what? 3 over 2 times x minus what? Minus 4, correct? That's our point slope form. But I need to get it into a what? Slope intercept form, because it needs to look like this, correct? So it's going to be what now? Y plus 2 equals 3, 2. What is 3 times negative 4? You're correct, Miller. Who doesn't see what we did there? 3. Yep, you canceled out the 2. 3 times what? If you guys do not know it, this we multiply this with this, correct? We multiply what? We multiply 3 times x, and then 3 times x over 2, which gives me 2x, and then 3 times negative 4 gives you what? Negative 12, and negative 12 divided by 2 gives you what? Negative 6. Who am I going to move now? The 2 over, correct? I'm left with y equals 3 over 2x minus what? And that's your answer for that. But they're telling us they want it in what? In a linear function. So it's basically the same as what? This is in slope-intercept, correct? And a function is going to be what? F of x equals 3 over 2x minus 8. That is a function. What are you replacing? Remember that y is the same as who? Who is y? This y is the same as f of x. The only difference is in y is one is a y and the other one is a what? It's a function. F of x means it's a function. We always need to make sure that we read the what? The directions. Here they're telling us write an equation in point slope form. Again, what is our target? And what is the form? Equals m times x1. Correct. In number 1, what would it be? What will be the final answer here? Y minus -1, which gives me what? Plus 1 equals -2 times x minus 3. That's all they're asking us, to write it in what? Point slope form. They're not asking us to do anything else, correct? What are they on the number 2? What would it be number 2? What is it? Number 2 will be y plus 0. Can we just leave it as y? Because 0 is already what? It doesn't give us anything, right? It doesn't really do. If it were to move 0 around, it's not going to affect our equation, right? So it's going to be y what? -2/3 times x minus 4. And this here is in point slope form, okay? It's very important that we know the difference on the test on Thursday. Slope intercept form and point slope form. If it's asking you point slope form, you write it in point slope form. If it's asking you to write it in slope intercept form, you need to write it in slope intercept form. In this slide, we're going to write the equation in slope intercept form of the line that passes through a given point. So we're given points. What's the first thing we need to do? Find our slope. So number 3, we're going to have 1, 4, and 3, 10 as our point. We're going to use this one as our what? Our first point, and this is our second point. Using our equation, plugging in our slope equation, we're going to have 10 minus 4 over 3 minus 1. That gives us 6 over 2. This is the same as 3. Our slope is 3. We're going to use these first points as our what? Points given. So we're going to input our slope, our point slope form, which is y minus 4 equals 3 times x minus 1, correct? So first thing is distributive property. We're left with what? Y minus 4 equals 3x minus 3. We're going to bring over our 4 so we could leave y on its own. So now it's going to be y equals 3x plus 1. And that there is in what form? They told us, slope intercept form. In number 4, now we have what? Points -4, -1, 8, and -4. Well, we're going to let this be our first points, and 8 and -4 be our second points, correct? Plugging in our slope formula, we know we're going to have what? -4 minus -1 over 8 minus -4. I know that these two cancel out, so it becomes positive. So we're left with -4 plus 1, which gives us -3 over. This cancels out as well. 12. This simplified gives us -1/4. So that's going to be our slope. We're going to use these points for our equation. So now I'm left with y minus what? Y minus negative 1 equals negative 1/4 times x minus negative 4. So working all these out, I'm gonna left y plus 1 equals, what's negative 1/4 times x plus 4. Now I'm able to do distributive property, correct? I'm left with y plus 1 equals negative 1/4 x minus what? Minus 1. And if I bring this over, I'm going to have minus 1, minus 1. My answer will be y equals negative 1/4 x minus 2. And that's your answer.